So for over 1,000 years, if you were a doctor in Europe, you learned about the human body by, well, by reading a book,
Yeah.
not by actually looking at a body.
It's incredible to think about, isn't it? All that knowledge was governed by one authority, Galen, a text written 13 centuries earlier.
And that's what we're getting into today.
Exactly. For this deep dive, we're looking at Andreas Vesalius, the man who basically shattered that entire system.
Our mission then is to see how he forced this monumental shift, from just reading the text to actually seeing the corpse.
And understanding that shift is, I think, a shortcut to grasping the very foundation of modern science.
Okay, so before Vesalius, what did a medical school dissection even look like? It sounds more like a performance than an investigation.
That's the perfect word for it. A performance or a ritual. You'd have this esteemed professor sitting way up high in a chair, literally above the action.
Reading from Galen's text in Latin.
Right. And down below, a barber surgeon, who is much lower on the social ladder, would be doing the actual cutting.
So the person with the knowledge wasn't touching the body, and the person touching the body wasn't expected to have knowledge.
Precisely. They were just there to point at things, to confirm what the book said, not to discover anything new.
But the whole thing was built on a flawed foundation, wasn't it? The source material itself.
That's the core of the problem. Galen couldn't systematically dissect humans back in ancient Rome, so a lot of his anatomy was based on animals, apes, pigs, oxen. Which means for centuries, doctors were learning things that were just plain wrong for human beings.
Like what? What's a big example?
Well, a classic one is the human liver. Galen said it had 5 lobes, like in some animals he'd dissected.
But the human liver doesn't have 5 lobes.
Nope. Or there was the rete mirabile, this network of blood vessels at the base of the brain in, say, an ox. Galen insisted it was in humans. If a dissector couldn't find it, they just assumed their technique was bad.
They never assumed the book could be wrong.
Never. The authority of the text was absolute.
So that's the system Vesalius walks into. What does he do that's so radically different?
He gets his hands dirty. It's as simple and as profound as that. He was the professor, but he demanded to do the dissections himself.
He steps down from the high chair, so to speak.
Literally and figuratively. He's the one holding the scalpel, making the observations. It was a symbolic act, a total rejection of that old, delegated hierarchy.
And all of that personal observation, that data he was collecting, it all leads to his masterpiece in 1543.
Yes. De humani, corporis, Fabrica. The Fabrica. And what's so brilliant about it is that he knew just writing down Galen's errors wouldn't be enough.
He needed to show people. It was a visual argument.
A stunningly powerful visual argument. The book has over 200 woodcut illustrations, incredibly detailed.
And they weren't just clinical diagrams, were they?
Not at all. You have these famous muscle men posed in dramatic landscapes, almost alive. They feel like they're stepping right off the page. It makes the anatomy unforgettable.
A collaboration of art, medicine, and the new printing technology.
The peak of it. He worked with artists from Titian's workshop, people like Jan van Kalkar. They made his evidence impossible to ignore.
So he could finally say, look, here is Galen's error, and here is the human truth right here in this drawing.
And that's what sparked the huge authority versus observation debate. He forced the issue.
So looking at the long-term impact, this was more than just correcting a few facts about the liver.
Oh, much more. It was a turning point for all of medical science. The argument shifted from what did the ancients write to what can we see and reproduce.
It standardized our understanding of a normal human body.
Yes, which gives you a baseline. Once you know what's normal, you can start to properly identify the abnormal pathology.
Like aneurysms or tumors. You can't understand disease if you don't have an accurate map of health.
Exactly. And that accurate map gave surgeons confidence. Those illustrations were copied and used in surgical texts for years, directly linking anatomy to actually saving lives.
So when we wrap this all up, what's the final thought for us today?
I think it's that the entire structure of modern medicine, from the way we diagnose to the way a surgeon operates, it's all built on that foundation Vesalius laid. It's built on his decision to stop reading and start looking.
So the question for us is,
right, what are the Galenic texts in our own lives? Where are we still relying on some outdated authority when we could just look for ourselves?